Mm, mm, mm. Can't tell. Okay, I think I am. Hello, everyone. I think I'm live on everything. Yeah. Hey, everybody. So we are live again Tuesday evening. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. I am the managing attorney, founder, and owner of a boutique immigration law firm. We are working with clients nationwide, so all 50 states plus Washington, D.C. As well, we work with clients that are overseas. We work with business owners and families. For my business owners and maybe HR managers within the businesses, in-house counsel, we make sure that everybody in your organization who is not a U.S. citizen has the right work authorization and the compliance documents. And then for our families, we work with typically a U.S. citizen that's sponsoring a fiance, a spouse, a dependent child, or a parent for a green card. And we also help our clients obtain U.S. citizenship. When I say dependent child, I mean dependent child according to immigration standards. We often think of dependent in the US as being 18 and under. That is not it for immigration. For immigration, dependent is under 21 and unmarried. So if you are 20 years old and married, you are no longer considered a dependent on your parents' immigration applications. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes I get a lot of confusion on that. People call their children are 18 and they're 17 and a half usually. They're freaking out because they think their child will not be eligible to get their green card through them. And so it's always good news when I explain that the immigration dependent rules are a little bit more forgiving than one would think. So my firm works a lot with businesses as well as families. Right now, we're doing a lot of work with our businesses because of H-1B season. So we are working with people through their Plan B if they did not get chosen in the H-1B lottery. We're obviously working with folks that were chosen in the lottery, getting their H's ready to go and getting those filed, working on that. So we're pretty busy, but I wanted to go live again this evening and see if y'all had any questions just about immigration in general, because I am a lawyer. I used to work inside USCIS. I was an adjudications officer dealing a lot with policy. So I was up at headquarters up in Washington, D.C. So I bring that knowledge, that insider knowledge to my clients' cases. So while I am a lawyer, I'm not your specific lawyer. All of my client relationships start with a consultation. Where we sit down and we figure out what's happening with your case. I ask you a ton of questions so that I know what's going on. And then at the end, we get a strategy. And then we decide if we want to move forward and work together. So if you guys have any questions for me, feel free to put those in the chat. We are currently live on the Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and on TikTok. So y'all know I'm a slow scroller. So, but if you have questions, feel free to put this in the chat and we will chat about them. If you don't have any questions, those of you who come to my lives often know that if there are no questions, I will log off and go get some dinner. Which usually when I say that, people start popping questions in. So afraid I'm going to leave. Here we go. We've got a question from Jada. If my BF came illegally, can he marry me because I'm a U.S. citizen? So getting married is not really the issue. So yes, you can, assuming marriage is legal in your state, you can absolutely get married. The question becomes whether or not you can apply for a green card for your then spouse. And because your spouse came in without documentation, we'd have to figure out what their current status is. There's a lot that we'd have to kind of figure out. But let me tell you sort of what a general rule is. A general rule that is in immigration is if someone enters the country with authorization, so they come in on a visa, they are here, they enter lawfully, and they fall out of status, and they become undocumented after they enter with authorization, and then they marry a U.S. citizen, the rule is that their time in the U.S. out of status is forgiven as long as they are being sponsored by a U.S. citizen. Now, that is not the case if they come in without authorization, and they remain here without authorization. They may need a waiver to request basically forgiveness of the time that they've been here out of status and undocumented. So that would really be, we'd have to see what's happening, what has happened, to see if, a green card application, has reasonable chances of being successful. So kind of depends. I know people hate when lawyers say that. I try to shy away from that phrase, but it depends. There's a lot of facts that I would need to know. Let me see here. Next question is, I got 40. Hi, y'all. I don't know why I try and do this without my glasses. I'm sitting here struggling. Oh, there. Oh, except my glasses are super dirty. Okay. I got I-45 approval 9 days ago. How long until I get my green card? Well, first of all, congratulations on getting your green card approval. That's awesome. We like to celebrate. I like to celebrate wins in my spaces, even if I had nothing to do with them. So super congratulations on that. It'll probably take a couple weeks till you get your actual green card in the mail. But that is awesome, awesome news. So I'm super excited for you. That's very, very cool. Make sure that you haven't moved. Hopefully you haven't moved during that application. You haven't changed your residence. If you did move, you should have alerted USCIS that you had moved and filled out the form AR11, which is the change of address form. But assuming you have the same address, nothing wrong with your mail system, about 2 weeks, you should have your actual card in the mail. So congratulations. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Oh, you're very welcome. AE85. Super excited for you. Let's see here. What else do we have? I have an I-751 pending since 11/15/21. I just have the e-stamp in my passport, I-551. I don't really know what your question is. So yes, you have a 751 pending, which is application to remove the conditions. A 751, y'all, is needed when a marriage-based green card is approved within 2 years of a couple getting married. They are given what's called conditional permanent residence. I tell people to think of it as sort of as temporary permanent residence. Once you file the I-751, you go through that process of removing the conditions, which does include an interview at the local USCIS office. Then they will review your application, and then if it's approved, then they remove the conditions. They approve the 751, and then you get what I call true permanent residence, which is a 10-year green card. How long is the I-751 taking to approve? I have no idea. I don't know processing times off the top of my head. Whenever my clients ask me for processing times, or I reach out to them affirmatively to give them processing times, I always look them up. Processing times are always in flux with the Immigration Service, and processing times are always an approximate amount of time it will take them. So if you have your receipt notice, you can certainly look on the USCIS website for your specific status update, or you can also go on the USCIS website and look at what 85% of the cases, same service center, are being, the processing time for 85% of the cases that are similar to yours. So I never ever hop on a live and know what processing times are because they change all the time and I look them up. Speaking of processing times, I want you all to know that the filing fees for immigration just went up. They went up yesterday. They're effective yesterday. So a lot of my colleagues and I raced to file as many applications as we could, that were fileable before yesterday. So with my imaginary crystal ball, I think that we are going to see more backlogs because people were racing to file applications. So I think we're going to see more backlogs. So just keep that in mind. So I think processing times we're going to see a slow change on those processing times. And I think they're going to get a little bit slower before they get any quicker. So I will keep y'all up to date on that. But that is my prediction with my imaginary crystal ball. Let's see here. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. My brother's asylum interview has been pending since 2020. I don't handle asylum cases. So to me, that seems like a long time. But again, I don't handle asylum cases. So that could be perfectly normal for an asylum case. I don't know. I would recommend that you speak with an attorney that handles asylum cases all day, every day, and they should be able to give you more clarity in terms of that particular processing time. Looks like Nessa or Nisa. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, although I'm probably butchering it, so I do apologize. Can someone enter U.S. with visitor visa after the I-130 got approved? Super lawyer answer of it depends. Depends on what's happening in the case. It completely depends. It depends on what category it was filed under, why the person wants to come in, how long they want to come in. It depends on a lot of things. Typically, I take a very conservative approach, especially if it's a marriage case. My office takes a very conservative approach, and I tell people I would recommend that they not travel into the U.S. As visitors. But that advice changed during COVID. If people were able to enter the U.S. and spend some time with their loved one before heading back out again, then, all for that too. So it really, really depends. There is no bright line, yes or no answer to that. It really depends on the individual circumstances of someone's case. What do we have here? They said 80% of the cases approved in 17 months. I'm assuming that means already have 27 months. So I'm not quite sure what case type that is, but if your individual case is beyond the stated and posted processing times on the USCIS website, you can always ping USCIS through the website and say, hey, what's going on? That is something that I do for my clients. I keep track of what's happening with their cases, so they're not sort of wondering what's happening. Like, we give them, routine updates. But if your exact case type is taking 17 months and it's already been 27 months, then I would ping USCIS and ask them, hey, what's up? What's going on with my case? Let's see here. Pending I-765. Can I travel with advanced parole document? Totally depends. Advanced parole is meant for travel, for sure. Whether I would advise someone to travel with their advanced parole completely depends on the facts of their case. There are some folks that I do not recommend that they travel on their advanced parole, even though we get them in advanced parole. We have with my clients, we have an extensive conversation about their advanced parole. And when I think they should use it, when I think they shouldn't use it, when I think, if I think they'll have issues trying to come back into the US. So that is kind of another, it depends, quite honestly. Can you help someone leave the USA and move to Thailand? So typically I don't help people move out of the US. That's just not something that typically my firm handles. Are we talking someone who's looking to give up their, relinquish their green card, give up their US citizenship? There are pieces of that relocation puzzle, if that is the case, that my firm can certainly help with. But if it's just someone who's just looking to go hang out in Thailand for like a couple years, that's typically not something that my firm does. They would need someone who's well-versed in Thai immigration law. And that is not me. And I'm very comfortable saying what I am not well versed in, and where you should probably seek counsel and advice of someone else. So, if it's a U.S. citizen, or if it's a green card holder who's looking to relinquish their green card, and and move out of the, leave the U.S., then there are obviously some immigration components to that. So U.S. immigration components to that. So I can certainly help with that. But there are also some U.S. tax components to that, where you should really get some very good tax advice. I recently helped a client through that process. So, you want to make sure that if that's the situation, that you are getting all of the advice, so that you have well-rounded advice, and so that you're not missing out on something. Let's see here. What else do we have? I have an 824 pending. Hold on. I have an I-824. That's what I thought of it. I-824. Okay, you have an I-824 pending. It's 20 months in Vermont. I'm a citizen. Can I reapply for my I-130? I don't actually know what you're asking me. I don't know what you're asking me. Why? I'm not quite sure why someone would reapply for their I-130. Usually, if someone's reapplying for their I-130, it means it's been denied some sort of way. So there's a whole host of questions and issues that I would have when someone is talking about reapplying for an I-130. So I'm not quite exactly sure what you're asking about. Let's see here. Someone is asking, they applied for your mom's I-130. It was approved. What's the next step? Completely depends on where she is. If she is here and there's no issues, generally the next step once an I-130 is approved is you either file an adjustment of status, or you work with the NVC and get a consular appointment. That said, if there are facts in the case, if there are facts in the case or facts within your situation, where, let's say, a waiver is needed or something like that, then your next step might be a waiver. So without actually knowing the facts of your individual case, and since I'm not your lawyer, there's a couple different things that could happen once an I-130 is approved. If that is not something that if that's not a process that you're super familiar with, then I would highly recommend that you work with a lawyer who can figure out what your next best step is and help you through that process. If you want to schedule a consultation with my office, you're welcome to do so. You can click the link in the bio and get on the calendar. But yeah, there's a couple next steps that could occur from that. I-130 is approved, but it's faster than the I-824. Yes, I-824s typically take a while. But again, whether or not you should reapply for your I-130, that's a huge, it depends. Let me see here. What is the budget for national interest waiver EB2? I don't know what you mean. What is the budget? For national interest waiver, there's no advertising required. So in that sense, there's not necessarily a budget that is required. If you opt to work with an attorney, there are attorney's fees and there are government filing fees. So it really just depends on who you opt to work with. But for those that are not super familiar with the national interest waiver, the national interest waiver is a way of applying for a green card. It is an employment-based category. It is a second preference-based category. And you have to show a few things. Typically, that individual must have a master's degree. If they don't have a master's degree or higher, they need to show that they have exceptional ability in their chosen field. They then need to show that what they want to do, what job they want to have, the employment that they want to pursue once a green card is completed or approved for them is of substantial merit and national importance to the United States. They also must show that they are well suited to advance in that career. And then on balance, they need to show to the U.S. government that it is, what they are doing is so amazing that they waive the usual second-based requirements, which are to file a labor certification application, have an employer sponsoring them, and advertise and recruit for a qualified U.S. citizen. So that is a very complicated case, which my office does, and I love to do this. I love to strategize them. They are, in my world, they're a lot of fun because no two cases are ever the same. But there's not sort of a marketing budget or something like that associated with the national interest waiver. Does it hurt to have another I-130? You are asking like super, super specific questions. And I would say, I don't know, because I don't know any of the facts of your case. So I think it is best that you sit down and have a consultation with someone, whether that someone is in my office or another attorney's office. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if you are I don't know if it's worth it for you to file another I-130, given that you already have one approved. That I don't know. My I-130 is approved without interview, but my I-45 I got interview letter. Is that normal? I don't actually understand what you're asking. I don't understand what's happening here. I-130 is approved. Oh, maybe I-130 is approved without interview. But I got an interview letter for my 45. I think that's what you're saying. I'm not quite sure. Listen, the Immigration Service will interview you whenever they have questions. So can you get an I-130 approved without an interview and then get an interview for the 45? Absolutely. When and if the Immigration Service has questions, they will either give you those questions in writing, which happens a lot in my cases for employment-based cases, but it also happens in family-based cases. But for family-based cases, sometimes it's just easier for them to give you an interview notice, come in and knock out these questions and knock out these issues in person versus going back and forth 12 weeks to respond to an RFE. It just elongates the time. So sometimes I'm perfectly happy if they give my clients an interview notice. I'm like, great, you got questions? Let's just go in person, 30 minutes or whatever. Let's just knock it out. So yes, but if the Immigration Service has questions, they will send you an interview notice. So looks like they have some questions. If you get your green card through asylum, can you use your green card to visit your home country? I don't know. I do not handle asylum cases. So I have no idea. Sorry about that. I have zero idea. How long does it take for an I-45 to be approved after the priority date is current? Filed last October, employment base. So completely depends on what country you're from. It depends on what country you're from, and it depends on whether or not it's first, second, or third preference. So it completely depends on those things. Every month, the Department of State puts out what we call a visa bulletin, essentially tells us where our clients are in line to get a green card. So it depends on what the priority date is. Again, it depends on a few things. So I don't know any processing times off the top of my head. I look them up every single time one of my clients ask me about them, because processing times are always changing. Visa bulletin changes once a month. We just got April out. April, May. We don't have May out. It'll be out maybe about 2 weeks. 2 weeks-ish. So it really depends. That's something where, I need to see what's happening in the case, what kind of case it is, where an individual is from. So unfortunately, there's not, a quickie answer to that one. How long for EAD renewal? EAD renewal receipt notice. Most receipt notices that I'm seeing are taking about a week or two. Outliers may take a little bit longer, which can happen. But yeah, I tell my clients it's about a week or two before we get a receipt notice, unless it is an employment-based case. My client has opted for premium processing, and then the receipt notice gets emailed or faxed to me. Usually that happens within 2 days of filing, but that is exclusively for employment. Some of my employment-based cases that are eligible, where my clients opt for premium processing. Premium processing is a way to expedite your case. You pay, client pays extra to the government. Government processes their case quicker. Any other questions? It's always fun to talk to you guys. Let's see here. My daughter is a Canadian citizen. She is in the U.S. with me. I think it's supposed to say, can I file the I-130 for her? If a U.S. citizen can certainly file an I-1. A U.S. citizen can file for a child, for a dependent child, if the dependent child is under 21 and unmarried. I always have to look this up, so let me look this up real quick for y'all. Let's see. If your daughter is not considered a dependent, meaning under 21 and unmarried, over 21, unmarried, yes, that is a green card category. If you're a permanent resident, unmarried, over 21, yes, you can also file. So it really depends on the age and the marital status of your daughter. And then once we know that, then we can look at the chart, see one, whether or not she's eligible, whether you can file for her, and two, what category that would put her in. And once we know the category it puts her in, then we know how long roughly they are taking to process those applications. So the magical lawyer answer is it depends. It could be, but it really, we have to look and see whether or not, how old is she, is she married, that kind of thing. And then we know listen, y'all, the Immigration Service does not make this easy. The Immigration Service does not make this easy for us. And I know people hate when lawyers say it depends, but a lot of it is it depends. Immigration is complicated. It's not sort of an in and out process. Let's see. I got an extension for my green card. Why not a permanent green card? I have no idea. I have no idea what we filed. I have no idea. I have no idea what you filed. I have no idea what the application looked like. I don't know. I don't know. I could make 1,000 guesses that would all be accurate scenarios, but I don't know. Let me see here. Do you know the economic hardship work permit? I don't know. I don't know. There's probably a different legal name for it, so I probably know it under the legal name. That is, and I'm actually kind of glad you asked this. So a lot of times especially in immigration, people will come, they'll have all sorts of questions for me. We'll sit down, we'll do a consultation. I'll ask all the questions. And then they'll ask me something like this. Do I know of the economic hardship work permit? Or do I know of the Genius visa? Or, do I know of the visa that's specific for models, right? In sort of the outside legal world, people have come up with, and like marketing machines do this, right? Like marketing machines do this. They've come up with words and phrases for all these legal terms, which is fine. Like works for you, works for me. It's fine. But I don't know them all, right? I just don't know all these non-legal terms. I know some of them. I know a lot of them, not all of them. So do I know the economic hardship work permit as that, as those words? No. Do I know what it is? Like if you give me the legal phrase, probably. So the short answer to your question is no. The long, short, maybe the another answer is maybe. I don't know. I saw a question. I saw a question somewhere where the mother is waiting for a green card. She becomes 21 during I don't know, during you got cut off, during I don't know. I don't know what you mean. How will someone know if they have a 204C and how do they overcome it? I don't know what 204C is. I'm guessing that's probably not a visa category that I handle. So I think it's a great question. And I think it's a great question for this reason. There are a lot of different moving parts when it comes to immigration. And there are, in the general breakdown, right? There's employment-based immigration, there's family-based immigration, there's asylum, there's refugee, there's deportation defense. And within those general categories and general buckets, attorneys like myself may work on a handful of different types of cases. Because we like to niche down. We like what we like to work on. It's, it's what we're good at. It's whatever, right? It just may be something that totally is of interest to us. So trust an attorney when they say, I don't know. Trust an attorney when they say, that's not a case I work on, so I'm just not the best person to help you, right? They are doing you a favor, right? So when I say to people, like, I don't know, that's not something I work on, or that's asylum, that's VAWA, those are two case types that I just don't do. Believe me, because I don't do them, right? But find someone who works on the case type that you are interested in all day, every day. That is something that you should do for yourself as a potential client. So your question about 204C and how to overcome it, I don't know what 204C is. Like, it's very rarely that I think about immigration in terms of the provision of the law. Like, can I find the law? Yes. Like, we're lawyers, like my colleagues, and we can find the law, but I don't think about it in terms of 204C. There are very few provisions in the law that I sort of think about them in terms of the code section. And unfortunately, 204C just isn't one of them. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to your question. And I don't see any more questions, y'all. Let me go check YouTube and Facebook. I don't see any questions there. Sometimes they're super quiet. Sometimes they DM me. All right, y'all. That's all I got for you guys tonight. I'm gonna log off and go make some dinner. If you want to work with me and my team, all of my clients, all my current clients, all began with a consultation. It's an opportunity for me to figure out what's happening, ask a whole bunch of questions, gives you an opportunity to ask me questions. I come up with a strategy at the end of that consult, and then we decide if we want to work together. So if you are interested in working with me and my team, feel free to reach out to us, and you can schedule a consultation. You're welcome to call the office as well. We will simply email you personally the consult link that is in the bio. So have a wonderful evening. I will probably be back on tomorrow evening as well. I'll be back on tomorrow evening. I've got meetings all day, but I will come back and chat with y'all. tomorrow night. So have a wonderful evening. And as always, it has been fun. I will chat with you later. Bye.